The city buzzed with life as Elon Musk stepped out an upscale restaurant in downtown Los Angeles. The dinner had been a disaster. Investors were growing restless. Tesla's stock was fluctuating wildly. And the media was having a field day with his latest controversial tweet. He had barely touched his food, distracted by the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders. He let out a slow breath, running a hand through his tousled hair. Maybe he should have stayed in, buried himself in work. But even a mind like his needed a break. Though tonight had proven that even fine dining and million-dollar deals couldn't quiet his restless thoughts. As he adjusted his jacket and prepared to call his driver, a voice cut through the hum of the city. "Rough night?" Elon turned. A man sat slumped against a brick wall of a nearby alley, his clothes worn, his beard thick with neglect. He didn't look like the usual panhandlers. There was something sharp in his gaze, something calculating. Elon hesitated. Normally, he ignored these encounters, not out of cruelty, but because experience had taught him that throwing money at a problem rarely solved it. Still, something about the man's tone intrigued him. "You could say that," Elon replied. The man smirked. "Must be tough. Billionaire problems and all." Elon chuckled dryly. "You'd be surprised." The stranger studied him for a moment. "You overthink things too much." That made Elon pause. "Oh yeah." He crossed his arms. "And what makes you say that?" The man shrugged. "The look on your face. I've seen it before. Too much data. Too many variables. Paralysis by analysis." Elon tilted his head, genuinely intrigued. "And what would you suggest?" A flicker of amusement crossed the man's face. "Simplify." For a brief moment, Elon forgot the world around him. This wasn't just idle street talk. There was something calculated in this man's words, as if he understood high-level decision-making better than most of the executives Elon had just dined with. "What's your name?" The man hesitated, then said, "Nathan. Nathan Cole." Elon pulled out a $100 bill. "How about a meal? You tell me how I should be running my companies, and I'll listen." Nathan eyed the bill, then smirked. "All right, but don't say I didn't warn you. I've got a habit of being right." Elon chuckled, leading the way down the street. He had a feeling this would be the most interesting conversation of the night. The neon glow of the diner flickered as Elon and Nathan stepped inside. It was a far cry from the luxurious restaurant Elon had just left, but it was open late, and right now, he cared more about conversation and ambience. Nathan moved with a strange sense of ease for someone in his position. He didn't look around in awe, didn't hesitate to sit across from Elon in the worn-out booth. He acted as if he belonged, an attitude that intrigued Musk even more. A tired waitress approached, barely sparing them a glance. "What'll it be?" "Coffee," Elon said. "Same," Nathan added. Then, after a beat, "and a burger. No onions." Elon raised an eyebrow. "You order like you've been here before." Nathan smirked. "I have." Silence settled between them as the waitress walked off. Elon tapped his fingers against the table, debating where to start. "You said I overcomplicate things," he finally said. "Explain." Nathan leaned back, folding his arms. "You build rockets, cars, AI systems, and underground tunnels all at the same time. You think big, but you act like a guy trying to solve 5 chess games at once instead of just winning one at a time." Elon chuckled. "Life isn't that simple." Nathan's gaze sharpened. "It is if you let it be. The trick isn't to do everything. It's to do the right thing at the right time. Most people drown in complexity because they think more moving parts means more progress. But efficiency is about cutting away what's unnecessary." Elon's smirk faded slightly. He had spent years optimizing systems, designing electric vehicles with fewer parts, reducing the cost of rocket launches. And yet, somehow, this homeless man had just summed up his entire business philosophy in a single sentence. The waitress returned, setting down their drinks and Nathan's burger. He took a bite, chewing thoughtfully before adding, "Take Tesla, for example. Your biggest bottleneck isn't demand, it's production. Instead of expanding, you should be refining. The Model S and Model X are proof of concept. But if you streamline the Model 3, cut out inefficiencies in supply chain, you could push EVs to mass adoption faster, than any marketing campaign ever could. Elon froze, his mind racing. This was a conversation he'd had countless times behind closed doors with top engineers and analysts. But how the hell did this guy know that? "Who are you?" Elon asked, leaning forward. Nathan wiped his mouth with a napkin, then met Elon's gaze with unsettling confidence. "Just a guy who thinks a little differently." For the first time in a long while, Elon Musk felt something unexpected. Curiosity. Elon studied Nathan with the same intensity he reserved for his most ambitious projects. This man wasn't normal, at least not in the way people expected of someone living on the streets. His words weren't just casual observations. They were insights, the kind you'd expect from an industry insider. Nathan took another bite of his burger, chewing calmly under Elon's scrutiny. He knew exactly what was happening in Musk's mind, and the amusement in his eyes showed it. "You're wondering how I know all that," Nathan said, wiping his hands on a napkin. "That's an understatement," Elon admitted. Nathan leaned back, wrapping his fingers around his coffee cup. "I used to be in the game. Tech, finance, strategy, you name it. Once upon a time, I was the guy people called when they wanted answers." Elon raised an eyebrow. "And now you're living on the street?" Nathan exhaled through his nose, a humorless smile tugging at his lips. "Funny how life works, isn't it?" Silence settled between them. Outside, the rain had started again, soft drops pattering against the diner's windows. Inside, the hum of conversation and clinking dishes filled the space, but at their booth, the atmosphere was different, charged with something unseen. Elon took a sip of his coffee. "I don't believe in wasted potential." Nathan chuckled. "Good thing, considering how many times people said you were crazy." Elon smirked but didn't argue. The world had never fully understood him, just like it clearly hadn't understood Nathan. "So what happened?" Elon pressed. "You had it all, and then what? Bad investment? Fraud? Someone screwed you over?" Nathan's jaw tensed. For the first time, he hesitated. His fingers drummed against the table, then stopped. "Let's just say, I trusted the wrong people," he said finally. "Lost everything overnight. And when you lose everything, you learn real quick who actually gives a damn about you." Elon didn't push, but he filed that answer away. Trust. That was a dangerous thing in their world. Nathan exhaled, shaking off whatever memory had surfaced. He looked back at Elon with a sharp grin. "But enough about my sob story. What about you? What's your next move?" Elon tilted his head. "You tell me, genius." Nathan smirked. "All right. First, stop worrying about what the media thinks. Second, focus on refining, not expanding. Third, you're still relying on outdated production models. Your factories are impressive, but they're not optimized." Elon blinked. "You know about Tesla's factory models?" Nathan shrugged. "I know about a lot of things." Elon's pulse quickened. This wasn't just some washed-up exec. This man knew things. Things he shouldn't. A crazy thought crossed Elon's mind. An impossible, ridiculous thought. "What if I offered you a job?" Nathan's smirk vanished. For the first time, his confidence wavered. "What?" Elon leaned forward, his mind already racing. "You're smart. Smarter than half the people I've hired. I don't care about your past. I care about what you can do. You want a shot at something real? I'll give it to you." Nathan studied him, his eyes flickering with something unreadable. Hope? Suspicion? Fear? Finally, he chuckled, shaking his head. "You really are insane, you know that?" Elon grinned. "That's what makes me successful." Nathan exhaled, looking down at his half-eaten burger. He hadn't expected this, hadn't dared to expect something like this. For the first time in years, the idea of a future didn't seem like a distant dream. "All right, Musk," he said finally. "Let's see how crazy this gets." Nathan wasn't sure what was crazier, the fact that Elon Musk had just offered him a job, or the fact that he was seriously considering taking it. The last time he'd been inside an office, it had ended in disaster, betrayal, loss. He had sworn off that world, convinced himself that intelligence meant nothing without power, and power was something he had no intention of chasing again. Yet here he was, sitting in the passenger seat of Elon's Tesla, watching the city blur past as they sped toward a destination unknown. "You're quiet," Elon noted, eyes fixed on the road. Nathan smirked, "Just wondering if this is some elaborate social experiment." Elon chuckled. "No experiment. I don't waste time on what-ifs. You're either as smart as you seem, or you're not. Either way, we'll find out." Nathan glanced out the window. "And where exactly are we going?" Elon tapped the steering wheel. "My office. Consider it an informal interview." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "You're giving a homeless guy an interview at midnight?" Elon grinned. "I like breaking the rules." They pulled into SpaceX headquarters, the massive facility looming like a futuristic fortress. Nathan had seen pictures, read reports, even dreamed of working in a place like this once upon a time. Now, he was walking through its doors as an outsider given a second chance. Inside, the energy was different, restless, electric. A handful of engineers worked late into the night, their faces illuminated by the glow of screens and high-powered lamps. Musk led Nathan past them without a word, taking him into a sleek, glass-walled conference room. Elon sat on the edge of the table, arms crossed. "All right, Nathan. Impress me." Nathan leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets. "That's vague. You want specifics?" Elon smirked. "Fine. If you were in charge of Tesla's supply chain, how would you cut production costs by 20% without compromising efficiency?" Nathan didn't hesitate. "You're relying too much on external suppliers. Vertical integration is your answer. Bring more production in-house, minimize dependency on third parties, and optimize raw material procurement through direct partnerships instead of intermediaries." Elon nodded, intrigued. "Okay, now SpaceX. How would you reduce the turnaround time for Starship launches?" Nathan tilted his head. "You're still treating Starship like a traditional rocket, when it's supposed to be fully reusable. Focus on modular repair stations near landing sites. Instead of hauling it back for extensive maintenance, make the fixes on location, reduce downtime, and standardize replacement part production instead of customizing each fix." Elon grinned. "You've thought about this before." Nathan smirked. "Let's just say I read a lot." Elon studied him for a long moment. The excitement in his eyes was unmistakable. He found something rare, something valuable. "You're not just some guy who had a bad break, are you?" Elon asked. Nathan's expression darkened for just a second. "Let's just say I learned the hard way that intelligence isn't always enough." Elon nodded, as if understanding more than he let on. "All right, I'll make you an offer. Come work for me. No background checks, no resumes, just results. But if you screw up or waste my time, you're out." Nathan exhaled slowly. The past clawed at him, whispering all the reasons this was a bad idea. But then he looked at Elon, the mad genius who had built empires from nothing, and realized something. Maybe this was his shot at redemption. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. "Deal," Nathan said, shaking Elon's hand. And just like that, his life changed forever. Nathan never imagined he'd be walking into Tesla headquarters as anything other than a visitor. The glass doors hissed open, revealing a sprawling office filled with engineers, analysts, and designers. People who had spent years earning their way here. Meanwhile, he had landed in the heart of it all after a single conversation in a diner. It felt surreal. It felt wrong. Elon led him through the open workspace, ignoring the curious glances thrown their way. Some employees recognized Musk instantly, but their eyes lingered on Nathan, the scruffy stranger in second-hand clothes, walking beside one of the most powerful men in the world. "You look nervous," Elon noted as they stepped into a private conference room. Nathan scoffed, tried to mask his unease. "I look underdressed." Elon smirked. "Good thing I don't hire people for their wardrobes." The door shut behind them, leaving Nathan alone with a high-end laptop, a massive touchscreen monitor, and a challenge. Elon folded his arms. "All right, let's see what you can really do." Nathan sat down, cracking his knuckles. "And what exactly am I doing?" Elon's eyes gleamed with mischief. "I want you to find a flaw in Tesla's internal logistics system. Something my engineers missed. If you do, you stay. If you don't, I go back to the streets," Nathan finished. Elon nodded. Nathan sighed, then rolled his shoulders. No pressure, huh? He cracked open the system. At first glance, everything looked perfect. Tesla's logistics network was a finely tuned machine, real-time data feeds, automated tracking, AI-driven optimizations. But Nathan wasn't interested in the surface. He dug under it, into the layers of raw data, system logs, and interdependent processes. Minutes passed, then an hour. Elon said nothing, watching as Nathan's fingers flew over the keyboard. Then there was a bottleneck. Found it, Nathan muttered, his voice distant, his mind already racing. Elon raised an eyebrow. Already, Nathan smirked. Your system prioritizes cost-cutting and battery shipments, which makes sense on paper. But in reality, that's causing delays at the Fremont plant. Your AI automatically selects the cheapest available shipment rather than the fastest reliable one, which means minor disruptions ripple into major slowdowns. The factory's wasting hours waiting for materials when it should be running nonstop. Elon's expression didn't change, but his eyes burned with interest. And your fix? Override the cost prioritization algorithm of the hybrid model, one that factors in both cost and consistency of supply. Shift high-risk shipments to a backup supplier network and set up predictive rerouting before delay happens, not after. Elon's lips quirked into a slow, knowing grin. You're not just smart. You think like a system builder. Nathan leaned back, exhaling. So, did I pass? Elon stepped forward and clapped a hand on Nathan's shoulder. Welcome to Tesla, Nathan. Nathan should have felt victorious. Instead, a different feeling crept up his spine, because for the first time in years, he wasn't invisible anymore, and that meant his past, the one he had buried so deeply, was about to catch up with him. Nathan stood in the Tesla office, staring at the screen in front of him. The reality of his new life was setting in fast. 1 minute, he was a ghost on the streets, forgotten by the world. The next, he was inside one of the most innovative companies in the world, shoulder to shoulder with engineers and analysts who had spent their entire careers getting here. It should have felt like a victory. But instead, something gnawed at the back of his mind. His past wasn't buried. It was waiting, and it had just realized he was back. Nathan had been working for 2 weeks now, quickly proving that he wasn't just some lucky drifter. Every time Elon threw a problem at him, he dismantled it with ease, offering insights that left even Tesla's top minds in awe. He worked late into the night, just like Musk, analyzing logistics failures, streamlining production flaws, and even proposing a radical new AI model for self-optimizing assembly lines. People started talking. Who is this guy? Where did Elon even find him? He's too good. No way he was just homeless. Nathan ignored the whispers. He had learned long ago that people feared what they didn't understand. But then, the first email came. A single, anonymous message. Nice try, Nathan, but you can't outrun everything. Nathan's blood ran cold. For a long moment, he just stared at the screen, his hands frozen above the keyboard. It had been years since he'd disappeared, years since he had cut ties with the life he had once lived. No one was supposed to know he was here. No one was supposed to care. And yet, someone had found him. Someone who remembered. He quickly checked the sender's email. It was a throwaway address, untraceable. No name, no details. But the message was clear. His past was coming for him. Nathan's hands curled into fists. He had sworn to himself that he would never go back. That world had chewed him up and spit him out, leaving him with nothing. But it seemed the past had other plans. Taking a deep breath, he shut the laptop and forced himself to act normal. He couldn't afford to let Elon or anyone else notice something was wrong. Not yet. But in the back of his mind, he knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Nathan barely slept that night. The email lingered in his mind, every word pressing against his ribs like a slow, creeping weight. Nice try, Nathan, but you can't outrun everything. Whoever sent it wasn't bluffing. He had spent years covering his tracks, making sure his name vanished from the corporate world. No records, no traces. He had assumed, hoped, his past had buried itself beneath newer scandals, newer players. But now, someone had pulled back the curtain, and that meant trouble was coming. The next morning, Nathan walked into Tesla headquarters as if nothing had happened. If he let the fear show, it would only invite questions. And questions led to the kind of attention he didn't need. Elon was already there, moving between engineers, talking at lightning speed. The man barely slept. He ran on adrenaline, caffeine, and sheer force of will. Nathan envied that. Spotting him, Musk broke away from the group and gestured for Nathan to follow him to his private office. "You look like hell," Elon noted. Nathan smirked. "Thanks. You always this charming." Elon leaned against his desk, studying him with sharp eyes. "Something's on your mind." Nathan hesitated. He knew he should lie, brush it off, say he had trouble sleeping. But Elon wasn't an idiot. He saw patterns, read people like equations. And if Nathan wanted to stay here, to build something real, maybe it was time to stop running. So instead, he asked, "Ever had someone try to erase you?" Elon's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes darkened. "More times than I can count." Nathan exhaled. "Yeah, me too." Elon didn't press. He simply nodded. "You need something?" Nathan considered his next words carefully. If he asked Elon to dig, to use his endless resources to find out who had sent that email, it would open a door Nathan wasn't sure he could close. But if he did nothing, he was waiting for a threat he didn't understand. "I need a favor," Nathan finally said. Elon raised an eyebrow. "You've been here 2 weeks, and you're already cashing in favors?" Nathan smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I just need access to Tesla security logs, external network pings, account access attempts, anything unusual in the last 24 hours. Elon didn't question why. He simply tapped a few commands on his laptop and turned the screen toward Nathan. "Here, knock yourself out." Nathan stared at the data, scanning line after line of security logs, searching for something, anything, that didn't belong. And then he saw it, a remote login attempt from an encrypted server. Someone had tried to access Tesla's internal systems using an old, inactive employee profile. Nathan's own profile. His heart pounded. Whoever was watching him wasn't just playing games. They were testing him, seeing how much he noticed. Nathan swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay calm. He shut the laptop and looked at Elon. "Everything okay?" Musk asked. Nathan nodded slowly. "Yeah," he lied. "Just checking something." Elon watched him for a moment longer, then shrugged. "All right, just don't let whatever's haunting you screw up your work. You're too good to waste on ghosts." Nathan forced a smile, but deep down he knew this ghost wasn't going away. Nathan sat alone in his Tesla office long after everyone else had left. The glow of the monitor cast sharp shadows across his face, but his mind wasn't on work anymore. The security logs didn't lie. Someone had tried to access Tesla's system under his old name. Someone who knew exactly who he was. And that meant only one thing. They weren't just watching. They were coming. His past wasn't filled with simple mistakes. It was filled with people. The kind of people who didn't like loose ends. Nathan had been a rising star once. A strategist. A systems genius. He had built predictive models that could see economic collapses before they happened, algorithms that could manipulate supply chains and destabilize entire industries. The problem? He had built them for the wrong people. When he realized who was really pulling the strings, the billionaires, the politicians, the power-hungry ghosts behind the system, he had tried to walk away. But you didn't just walk away from people like that. So he disappeared, burned his identity, vanished before they could erase him first. For years, he had been nothing more than a ghost in the streets, blending into background, surviving off the grid. And now, he was back in the game, and someone had noticed. His phone buzzed. Nathan's stomach tightened. No one called him. He hadn't even given his number to anyone. The screen showed an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Silence. Then a slow, deliberate breath on the other end. "Nathan Cole," a voice murmured. "Back from the dead." Nathan's grip tightened around the phone. "Who is this?" he asked, his voice low. The caller chuckled. "You already know the answer." Nathan didn't respond. His mind was already running through possibilities. Was it someone from the old world? A warning? A threat? You should have stayed gone, the voice continued. You had a clean exit. Musk may trust you, but he doesn't know you. If he did, he wouldn't have brought you in. Nathan clenched his jaw. If you're trying to scare me, you're wasting your time. A pause. Then the voice softened, almost amused. Oh, Nathan, this isn't a warning. The line went dead. Nathan stared at the phone, his pulse hammering in his ears. They weren't threatening him. They were already making their move. And now, he wasn't just fighting for his place at Tesla. He was fighting to stay alive. Nathan's mind raced as he put the phone down. The message was clear. Whoever was after him wasn't just sending warnings. They were coming. And if they had already infiltrated Tesla systems, it meant they were smarter than he thought. This wasn't just a hacker probing for weaknesses. This was a surgical strike. A test. He had to make a move. The next morning, Nathan walked into Tesla headquarters like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. His instincts were sharper than ever, scanning every face, every glance in his direction. Were they watching him? Was the enemy already inside? Elon greeted him in passing, barely slowing down. You good? Nathan nodded. Yeah, just running on low sleep. Elon smirked. Welcome to my life. Nathan forced a chuckle, but inside, his mind was racing. He had to act. He couldn't run, not this time. If they wanted him out, they would have to fight for it. He spent the next 6 hours inside Tesla's security system, not just looking for intrusions, but setting his own trap. If someone tried to break in again, he would know. More importantly, he would find out who. By evening, he had his net in place, a series of hidden digital breadcrumbs that would feed back into an isolated server, revealing the intruder's location in real time. Now, all he had to do was wait. At 3:17 a.m., his laptop beeped. Someone had taken the bait. Nathan's pulse quickened as he pulled up the data. The hacker wasn't just inside Tesla systems. They were inside his Tesla account. They were looking at his files, his history. They weren't after Elon. They were after him. And then a message appeared on his screen. Nice trap, Nathan. But too late. Nathan's stomach dropped. A second later, his office door clicked open. Footsteps. A shadow against the dim office lights. He turned, heart pounding, and froze. Standing in the doorway was a man he never thought he'd see again. A man from his past. A man who should have been dead. Hello, Nathan, the man said, smiling. Did you miss me? Nathan stared at the man standing in the doorway. His pulse hammered in his ears. His mind raced, calculating, analyzing, looking for an escape. But there wasn't one. The past had finally caught up with him, and it was smiling. The man stepped forward, closing the office door behind him. His name was Damian Wolf, a name Nathan hadn't spoken in years, a name he had prayed was buried. But here he was, alive and well, dressed in a tailored suit, looking every bit the powerful strategist he had been before everything went to hell. Nathan's voice was calm, but his hands clenched into fists beneath the desk. You're supposed to be dead. Damian smirked. So were you. Silence. Then Damian gestured to the laptop screen still glowing behind Nathan. Impressive. The old you would have caught me sooner. Nathan's jaw tightened. What do you want? Damian sat down across from him, crossing one leg over the other, like they were just two old friends catching up. Oh, Nathan, he sighed. It's not about what I want. It's about what you did. Nathan didn't flinch. I walked away. Damian's smirk deepened. No one walks away, Nathan. You of all people should know that. Nathan exhaled slowly, forcing himself to stay in control. You tracked me for years, he said. Why now? Why Tesla? Damian's gaze darkened. Because you finally made a mistake. Nathan said nothing. You were invisible, Damian continued. A ghost. Untouchable. But then, he gestured around the room. You stepped back into the world. And now you're a problem again. Nathan leaned forward. So what happens next? You put a bullet in me? Stage an accident? I assume you didn't fly all the way here for a chat. Damian chuckled, shaking his head. No, Nathan. You misunderstand. I didn't come here to kill you. He tilted his head. I came to offer you your old job back. Nathan blinked. He hadn't expected that. Not this. Damien leaned in, voice smooth as silk. Think about it. You're already doing what you were meant to do. You're inside one of the most powerful tech companies in the world. And Elon, he trusts you. Nathan's stomach twisted. You want Tesla, he murmured. Damien's smile was razor sharp. I want everything, Nathan. Just like we used to. Nathan's hands curled into fists beneath the desk. Once upon a time, he and Damien had been partners, rising stars in a world of high-stakes power plays, working behind the scenes, pulling strings no one even knew existed, and it had nearly destroyed him. Now, Damien wanted him back. Nathan's mind raced. He had to play this carefully. One wrong move and, I'm not that person anymore, he said, his voice steady. Damien's expression remained unreadable. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Damien sighed, standing up. Shame, he said. Elon really does have an eye for talent. Nathan tensed. What does that mean? Damien met his gaze. It means if I can't have you, I'll take something else. Nathan's breath hitched. Watch your back, Damien said, turning toward the door. Because next time we talk, he flashed a slow, dangerous grin. You won't have a choice. And then he was gone. Nathan sat there, staring at the empty doorway, heart pounding. Damien had just declared war. And now, Nathan had to make a choice. Run or fight? He exhaled sharply, reaching for his phone. He dialed a number. After 2 rings, Elon picked up. You up? Nathan asked. Elon chuckled. You know I am. Nathan closed his eyes, then opened them. His decision was made. We need to talk. Nathan stood on the rooftop of Tesla's headquarters, staring out over the city. The skyline was alive with light, but his mind was somewhere else, lost in the gravity of the decision he had just made. Behind him, the door creaked open. Footsteps. Elon Musk stepped up beside him, hands in his pockets. You sounded serious on the phone, Elon said. So talk. Nathan exhaled. He had spent years running, hiding, surviving. But Damien's return had changed everything. Now, it was his turn to make a move. You ever had someone try to own you? Nathan asked. Elon smirked. Every day. Nathan nodded, then turned to face him. I used to work in the shadows. Strategy, power plays, high-level manipulation, the kind of stuff that makes or breaks industries before people even realize it's happening. Elon's expression remained unreadable, but Nathan knew he was listening. I walked away, Nathan continued. But now someone from my past wants me back. Wants to use Tesla as part of something bigger. Elon's jaw tightened slightly. And what do they want? Nathan's throat tightened. Control. For a long moment, Elon said nothing. He simply stared out over the city, his mind working at lightning speed. Then he chuckled. Well, he said, glancing at Nathan, if they think they can control me, they're even dumber than I thought. Nathan smirked. I figured you'd say that. Elon turned fully to face him now. You think this guy, whoever he is going to make a move against Tesla? Nathan's smirk faded. I don't think. I know. Elon nodded slowly. Then, to Nathan's surprise, he grinned. Then let's make it interesting. Nathan raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Elon stepped toward the door, his tone almost casual. If someone wants to play games with us, let's play back. But here's the thing. He shot Nathan a sharp look. I don't lose. Nathan chuckled. Damien thought he had already won, but he had underestimated one thing. Nathan wasn't the same man he used to be. And this time, he wasn't fighting alone. He turned back to the city, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Let the games begin.